What if I told you there used to be a plane shaped like a pancake, one that folds its wings mid-flight, and another that skims just above the ocean, faster than a commercial jet? These aren't science fiction concepts. They were real, they flew, and they made aviation history, just not in the way anyone expected. Today, we're going deep into the vault of forgotten flight, planes so bizarre, so ahead of their time, or entirely off the rails, that many people still don't know they existed. Each one has its own strange story, and by the time we get to number one, you'll be questioning everything you thought you knew about what can and can't fly. Let's count down the top 10 most bizarre planes you didn't know existed. Number 10. The Hiller V-173. Let's start with something that looks like a prop straight out of a comic book. The Hiller V-173 was a flying platform with a fan underneath. That's it. No cockpit, no wings, no seat. Just a single soldier standing on top, trying to stay balanced while hovering in the air. The goal? To give individual soldiers a personal flying machine they could use to scout ahead or maneuver over difficult terrain. The propellers were hidden inside a ducted fan, which helped provide stability, in theory. In practice, it was terrifying. One slight misstep and you were toast, literally. While it could lift off vertically and hover, it wasn't practical, or safe, or even remotely comfortable. Only a few were built. None saw real action. But if nothing else, the Pawnee proved that just because you can build something doesn't mean you should. Number 9. The NASA AD-1 oblique wing. Now, picture a plane mid-flight that looks broken, albeit on purpose. The NASA AD-1 was one of the strangest aircraft ever tested. It featured an oblique wing, a single wing that could pivot from 0 to 60 degrees while flying. Straight when taking off, slanted diagonally at high speeds. The reason? Reduced drag, improved fuel efficiency at supersonic speeds. On paper, it was brilliant. In reality, things got dicey. The more the wings angled, the harder it became to control. The aircraft became unstable, unpredictable, and borderline dangerous at steep angles. Pilots described the experience as flying a crooked surfboard through turbulence. NASA completed 79 test flights between 1979 and 1982. They learned a lot, but shelved the idea. Still, it's remembered as a bold attempt to push aerodynamic theory into reality. One that showed us just how far the envelope could be stretched until it broke. Number 8. McDonnell XF-85 Goblin. Next up, the little jet that lived inside a bigger jet. The McDonnell XF-85 Goblin was created during the Cold War when the American military feared its bombers would fly too far to be protected by conventional fighters. The solution? Carry a fighter inside the bomber. The Goblin was tiny, about 15 feet long, and shaped like an egg. It would be lowered from a B-36 bomber in mid-air, launched to defend the mothership from enemy aircraft, then reconnected using a retractable hook. Sounds clever, right? Well, it didn't exactly work. The biggest issue was the reattachment. The bomber created so much turbulence that test pilots struggled to dock the Goblin again. The project was scrapped after several close calls and one nearly fatal test. Only 2 Goblins were built. None saw combat, sadly. Number 7. The Northrop N-1M Flying Wing. Before the B-2 stealth bomber wowed the world with its sleek wing-only profile, there was the Northrop N-1M. Developed in the early 1940s, it was one of the earliest attempts to entirely ditch the fuselage and tail and fly just the wing. It looked like a boomerang, or a UFO, and it flew with eerie smoothness. Designed by Jack Northrop, the aircraft was ahead of its time. The flying wing concept promised less drag, better fuel efficiency, and a reduced radar signature, decades before stealth was even a buzzword. But in those early days, stability was a major issue. Without a tail to correct motion, pilots had to adjust and compensate constantly. Some likened it to balancing on a sheet of ice while skating downhill. Ultimately, the project was shelved, but its DNA lived on. Fast forward 50 years, and the same principles helped create the B-2 Spirit stealth bomber. The N-1M was weird, yes, but visionary, absolutely. Number 6. The Caproni C-60 Transaereo. The Caproni Car-60 was a triple triplane flying boat with 9 wings, yes 9, stacked in 3 sets across its massive frame. Built in 1921 by Italian aviation pioneer Gianni Caproni, the aircraft was designed to carry up to 100 passengers across the Atlantic. It was a flying cruise ship with dreams of commercial aviation long before airlines became common. On its maiden flight, the aircraft lifted gracefully off Lake Maggiore. But just moments later, disaster struck. The flying vessel climbed to about 60 feet, pitched forward, and crashed spectacularly into the water. The aircraft was destroyed, and the dream of transatlantic luxury air travel was delayed by decades. Today, the Kia 60 remains one of the most bizarre aircraft ever built. A vision too ambitious, too early, or too heavy to fly. Number 5. The Bartini-Beria VVA-14. In the thick of the Cold War, the Soviets were experimenting with strange machines. However, none more bizarre than the VVA-14. Designed by Robert Bartini and Beriev, the VVA-14 was a hybrid aircraft meant to take off from water, fly at high altitudes, and skim just above the ocean using ground effect to hunt enemy submarines. Part plane, part boat, part hovercraft. Its design was awkward but functional. It had inflatable pontoons for sea landings and a unique combination of lift and forward thrust turbojets. But the project was plagued with issues. The pontoons were unstable, the engines are unreliable, and after Bartini's death, development stalled completely. Only one was ever built. It now sits broken and rusting in a Russian museum. Number 4. The Vought V-173 Flying Pancake. The name says it all. The Vought V-173 was a disc-shaped aircraft developed by the US Navy during World War II. Its flat circular body and twin propeller setup made it look like a flying saucer, or a breakfast item. It was designed to take off and land in tight spaces like aircraft carriers, using a special wing design that provided extreme lift at low speeds. And here's the surprise. It flew remarkably well. Test pilot Charles Lindbergh even took it for a spin and reported that it handled better than expected. But it wasn't perfect. It vibrated intensely. Visibility was poor. And let's face it, nobody wanted to go into battle looking like a flying plate. Still, it paved the way for future experimental designs. And perhaps, just maybe, inspired a few of those post-war UFO sightings along the way. Number 3. Hughes H-4. Hercules, Spruce Goose. If you've heard of this one, it could be because of its nickname, the Spruce Goose. But behind that silly name was a mind-blowing feat of engineering. Designed by billionaire Howard Hughes during World War II, the H-4. Hercules was built to transport troops and equipment across the Atlantic without using any metal, which was reserved for the war effort. The entire plane was made from wood, birch to be specific. It had a wingspan longer than a football field and was powered by 8 massive engines. It was the largest flying boat ever built and flew exactly once. In 1947, Hughes piloted the aircraft himself. It lifted off the water, reached 70 feet in altitude, and stayed airborne for 26 seconds. That's all. Just one flight. But it proved that the impossible could be done. The Spruce Goose now lives in an aviation museum in Oregon. Number 2. Lun-Class Ekranoplan. Now, this one is barely an airplane. In fact, many people still debate whether it counts. The Lun-Class Ekranoplan was a Soviet ground effect vehicle designed to fly just a few meters above the water at incredible speeds, using the cushion of air between its wings and the surface. It was huge, nearly 250 feet long, with 8 turbojets mounted on its nose, and it could fly at over 300 miles per hour under the radar. Its mission? Transport and launch anti-ship missiles without detection. It worked, but barely. It was expensive to maintain, had a limited operational range, and didn't fare well in rough seas. Only one was ever completed. Today, the beast lies abandoned on a beach near the Caspian Sea, a surreal monument to Cold War engineering and the limits of military imagination. Number 1. Convair XF-11. We end with a plane that almost ended the man who built it. The Convair XF-11 was a reconnaissance aircraft designed by Howard Hughes, yes again, during World War II. It featured twin engines with counter-rotating propellers and a sleek body built for speed and altitude. But things went horribly wrong on its first test flight in 1946. One of the engines failed mid-air. The plane veered violently. Hughes tried to crash land in a residential area and slammed into a house, miraculously surviving, but with multiple injuries. And worse, broken skull. The plane was retested again, but the trauma lingered. The engine was eventually scrapped. Entered full production. It was weird, powerful, and potentially revolutionary, at a near fatal price. There you have it. 10 of the most mind-bending planes ever built. Some flew, flopped, changed the course of aviation, others vanished into obscurity. But they all share someone dared. Which one blew your mind? Let us know in the comments. And if you're hungry for more aviation oddities, hit that subscribe button.